The sun over Ikorodu wasn't just shining. It was watching. By 7:45 a.m., it had already bleached the zinc rooftops, warmed the concrete walls, and stirred the mango trees just enough to make their leaves wave lazily in the breeze. It was a typical school holiday morning. Streets were quieter than usual, the neighborhood quieter still, except for the soft calls of birds and the distant honking of a Danfo bus. Zuena, 13, sat on the front step of her home, tracing circles in the dirt with a stick. Her cornrows were fresh, parted perfectly, and her wide eyes held the stillness of someone thinking more than playing. Inside the house, her mother was buttoning her long blouse and slipping on shiny, sensible shoes. "You know the rules, Zuena," her mother said, keys jangling in hand. "No going outside the gate, no cooking, no inviting the whole neighborhood over." Zuena laughed. "It's just me and Musa today, Mommy. Promise." Her mother softened, stepping forward to plant a kiss on her forehead. "Be a good girl." "I will." And then the gate clicked shut behind her. Across the narrow fence, Musa was doing his own farewell ritual. His father, a tall, stern man with a shaved head and a neatly trimmed beard, adjusted the strap of a worn leather satchel. "No noise. No nonsense. No fire," he said flatly. "Yes, sir," Musa said, grinning up at him. His father paused, then cracked a smile. "Don't burn the house down." Musa chuckled. "I'll try not to." And just like that, both adults were gone. The two houses settled into a strange, quiet rhythm only kids left alone for the day understand, full of possibilities with just a threat of danger. By 9 a.m., the houses were nearly silent, except for the occasional creak of a fan or the faint ticking of a wall clock. That's when Zuena walked to the dividing fence, her eyes already sparkling with mischief. "Musa," she whispered. His head popped out of the front door like he had been waiting for the call. "What?" "Come here." The two met under the mango tree that leaned halfway across both yards. It had been their headquarters for years. Fort, jungle, pirate ship, or courtroom, depending on the day. Today, it was simply shade. "I have an idea," Zuena said, arms folded like a grown-up. "Another treasure hunt?" Musa asked. "Nope." "Better. You ever notice how fine my mom looks when she's going to work?" Musa shrugged. "She always looks fine. And your dad, all serious with his tie and his deep voice. Don't you wonder what it feels like to have a deep voice? To be them. To be grown." Musa gave her a look. "Are we pretending again?" Zuena smirked. "Let's dress like them. Like real adults. You wear your dad's clothes. I'll wear my mom's. Let's see if we can look just as serious." Musa looked unsure. "You mean, go into their rooms?" She raised an eyebrow. "Scared?" "No." "Good. Then meet me back here in 10 minutes. Dressed." He hesitated, for half a second too long, then sprinted back to his house. Zuena stood still for a moment, then bolted inside hers. In her mother's room, everything smelled like lavender and baby powder. Her mom's wardrobe was a fortress of adult elegance. Clothes hung neatly, shoes aligned, handbags tucked into shelves like trophies. "Wow," she whispered, stepping into the closet. Her fingers grazed a navy blouse, then a long red skirt. She paused at a sequined top that glittered when she moved it. On the vanity table was a small red box. She popped it open. "Lipstick," she breathed. She tried not to laugh as she carefully smeared a bit on her bottom lip. It was too much, and too red, but she liked the drama of it. Then something shifted in the corner of her vision. A drawer, slightly open. She didn't remember seeing it open before. Curiosity tugged. She stepped closer. The wooden drawer glided open with the softest creak. Inside was a small, leather-bound book with faded gold letters on the cover. It didn't look like a Bible. It didn't look like anything she'd seen before. She picked it up and opened it to the first page, then frowned. Drawings, not stick figures. Grown-up drawings, detailed, close, confusing. "What is this?" she whispered. There were words, too. Long, complicated ones. Some she'd heard before in whispered conversations or late-night movie scenes, but none that made much sense. Her chest felt tight. Still, she turned the next page, then another. The more she looked, the stranger it felt. It wasn't a storybook, and it didn't feel like playing anymore. She didn't know exactly what it was, but she knew it wasn't for her, or maybe it was just a weird kind of comic. She shut the book quickly and pressed it to her chest, then ran. "Musa!" she hissed at his window. He was already dressed, tie crooked, jacket 3 sizes too big. He opened the door, blinking. "Whoa, what happened? You look like you just ran from a lion." "I found something. You've never seen anything like this before." "What is it?" "A comic. A secret one. Come." They sat on the living room couch, the book between them, like a treasure chest. "Is it about superheroes?" Musa asked. "No, just look." He leaned in. They turned page after page. The giggling stopped after a few minutes. The drawings were too strange, too close, too much. Their faces grew serious. Their hands fidgeted. By the time they closed the book, neither said a word. Finally, Musa looked at Zuena. "What? Is this even for?" Zuena stared down. "Maybe. It's something adults use. To learn how to be close." He tilted his head. "Should we try pretending what they did?" She didn't answer right away. Then softly, "We're already dressed like them, aren't we?" What happened next wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was 2 kids copying what they didn't understand, following shadows without knowing where they led. It didn't last long, a few minutes, but the silence afterward was heavier than anything they had ever felt. "I don't like this," Musa finally whispered. "Me neither," Zuena said. They sat apart on the couch, the book between them like something toxic. Later, Musa left quietly. Zuena pushed the book under the couch. She couldn't bear to look at it again. That night, she stared at the ceiling until sleep finally dragged her away. But even in sleep, her heart felt loud. The morning after felt heavier. The sun still rose over Ikorodu. The mango tree still danced in the wind, and the Danfo buses still honked in the distance. But something between Zuena and Musa had changed. Neither of them said it out loud, but they both felt it. They didn't meet under the mango tree that morning. They didn't exchange greetings across the fence. Musa sat on his porch, staring at his feet. Zuena stayed inside, pretending to read a book. But her eyes weren't moving. Her heart was. Every time she remembered the couch, the book, and what they had done, a wave of heat flushed through her face. Her chest tightened, and she would bite her lower lip hard enough to hurt. In Musa's house, it wasn't much different. He had lined up all his toy cars on the rug in his room, but hadn't touched them in hours. They stared back at him, waiting to be raced, but his hands stayed still. What did we do? He didn't know what to call it. It hadn't felt like a crime. Not really. It had started as a joke, something silly, something curious. But by the time it ended, it had felt wrong. Really wrong. Later that afternoon, Zuena stood at the window, watching the clouds form shapes, trying to make sense of them. A lion, a feather, a face. Nothing stayed long enough to explain what she was feeling. Her mother's voice called from the kitchen. "Zuena, are you okay?" "Yes, Mommy," she lied. "You're quiet today. I'm just tired." Her mother peeked around the corner, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "No fever?" "No." A pause. You're not in trouble, are you?" Zuena looked up too quickly. "No." Her mother's brow lifted slightly. She nodded and went back to the kitchen. Zuena stared back at the sky, her heart thudding. She had never lied to her mother before. At Musa's house, things weren't much better. "Musa!" His father's voice thundered from the hallway. "Why didn't you wash your uniform?" "I forgot," Musa said, barely audible. "You forgot? You've been at home all day." His father stared at him long and hard. Musa kept his eyes on the floor. "What's going on with you?" his father asked, voice lower now. "You're not usually like this." Musa shook his head. "I don't know." It was the only truth he could manage. That night, Zuena lay in bed with her diary on her lap. The page was blank. She didn't know where to begin. After a long pause, she finally wrote, "Today I didn't smile. Not once. I didn't play with Musa. I think we did something wrong. I can't stop thinking about it. I feel like my heart is hiding from me." She stared at the words, then, carefully, tore the page out and hid it inside a book she never read, as if the page might shout the truth if left alone too long. Musa, meanwhile, didn't write anything. He dreamed. In his dream, he was in a church. He and Zuena were wearing their school uniforms, standing at the front while everyone in the congregation stared at them. Their eyes were sharp, their faces angry. Behind them was a book. It glowed red, pulsing like a heartbeat. Musa tried to speak, but no sound came out. He turned to Zuena, but she looked away, ashamed. Then the book opened by itself, and light shot out of it, blinding everyone. He woke up sweating, gasping for air. The next morning, Musa didn't go outside. He sat on the floor, hugging his knees. Zuena passed by his window but didn't call. She wanted to. She needed to. But what would she say? "Hey, remember when we pretended to be adults and now we both feel like we're made of glass?" She couldn't say that. So she kept walking. Time passed differently that week. The games stopped. The laughter stopped. Even the Ludo board gathered dust in the corner of Zuena's living room. Every time she saw it, she turned away. One afternoon, Musa's father called him over. "Come, let's fix the fence." It was a simple chore. They had done it before. But Musa fumbled with the tools, lost track of instructions, and kept glancing toward Zuena's house, his father noticed. "Musa!" "Yes, sir?" "Are you hiding something?" The words hit like a stone. "No, sir," Musa said quickly, voice high. His father stared at him for a long moment before nodding slowly. Then, "Fix your eyes. They keep running away." Musa nodded, ashamed. That same evening, Zuena found herself staring at the drawer in her mother's room, the one with the book. She hadn't opened it again. She didn't want to, but knowing it was still there made her feel haunted. She sat, cross-legged on the bed, whispering to herself, "Why did I touch it? Why didn't I stop?" She pulled her knees to her chest and rested her chin on them. "I wish we had just played Ludo." 2 days later, they saw each other again. It was accidental. They reached the mango tree at the same time. Zuena carrying a small notebook, Musa holding an empty plastic bottle he had meant to throw away. They froze. Then slowly, Musa spoke. "Hi," Zuena nodded. "Hi." Silence stretched between them. Zuena finally said, "Have you been okay?" Musa didn't lie. "Not really," she swallowed. "Me neither." He looked at her notebook. "What's that?" "Just thoughts." He nodded. She added, "I had to write it somewhere, or else my head would explode." "I had a dream," Musa said suddenly, "that we were in church. Everyone was staring at us." Zuena's eyes widened. "I've been dreaming weird too, not church, but falling." They were quiet again. Then Zuena asked, "Do you think we did something very bad?" Musa's voice was low. I don't know if it was bad, but it didn't feel good. She nodded. It felt scary after. Musa glanced at the mango tree leaves. I feel like something changed in me. Me too, Zuena whispered. I don't feel like a kid anymore. A breeze passed between them. I wish we could go back, Musa said. Zuena bit her lip. Maybe we can, but we have to do something first. He looked at her. What? She didn't answer right away. Then quietly, we can't keep it hidden forever. Musa's shoulders slumped. You want to tell? I don't know, she said. I'm scared, but I think maybe we should. That night. Zuena didn't write in her diary. She prayed. Not out loud, not with words. Just a small voice in her chest saying, please, make this right. Across the fence, Musa did the same. His eyes were open, staring at the ceiling, but his heart was whispering something similar. They didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but they were starting to understand that silence had weight, and it was getting harder to carry. The dino, Zuena decided to tell her mother, started with a single thought. I can't carry this anymore. She had barely eaten breakfast. The bread on her plate had turned cold and the tea in her cup had gone untouched. Her mother noticed, but said nothing, just glanced at her every so often as if waiting for something to break loose. Zuena's heart was loud, not in the thumping way it used to beat when playing hide and seek. This was the kind of loud that felt like it echoed in her ears, pulsing with every breath. Her fingers trembled slightly against the table, and when her mother stood to take the dishes to the sink, Zuena saw her chance. Mommy? Her mother turned, surprised at the soft, hesitant tone. Yes, sweetheart? Zuena opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked down. Her mother paused. She knew that look. She dried her hands, came back to the table, and sat down. Zuena, look at me. Zuena raised her eyes slowly. Her mother's face wasn't stern. It wasn't smiling either. Just still, attentive, ready. What's wrong? It took everything in her not to cry right then. I need to tell you something, but I'm scared. You don't have to be afraid to tell me the truth. Zuena took a breath so deep, it felt like the first one in days. Then, in a rush of words and pauses and whispered shame, she told her about the game. The idea to dress up like adults, the discovery of the book, the confusion, the moment she called Musa, the pictures, the pretending, the fear that came after. Her mother didn't interrupt once. She didn't gasp. She didn't shout. She simply listened. Her eyes darkened at parts, and her fingers clutched the fabric of her wrapper tightly, but she never broke her calm. When Zuena finally stopped, her voice was hoarse, and her head hung low. I didn't know it was wrong, she whispered. But now I feel it. I feel it every day. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of emotion, of restraint, of a mother recalibrating everything in real time. Then, her mother reached across the table and gently took Zuena's hand. My daughter, she said softly. Thank you. Zuena looked up, startled. Thank you for your courage. Telling the truth when it hurts is one of the hardest things a person can do. But you did it. Zuena's lip trembled. Her mother continued. Yes, what you did was wrong, and it was dangerous. But what matters now is that you told me. That shows your heart is still in the right place. Tears rolled down Zuena's cheeks. I was scared you'd hate me. Her mother's eyes softened. I could never hate you. My job is not just to protect your body, it's to help guide your spirit. Mistakes will come, but so will learning, so will forgiveness. Zuena broke into full sobs. Her mother came around the table, wrapped her arms around her, and held her like she did when she was small and afraid of thunder. You are still my child, she whispered. This doesn't change that. They stayed. There for a long time, wrapped in that silence that no longer felt heavy, just human. When Zuena calmed, her mother wiped her face, poured her fresh tea, and said quietly, "We need to tell Musa's family." Zuena blinked. "You mean, go there?" Her mother nodded. "Yes. If he's carrying the same weight as you, then he also needs peace." Zuena hesitated. "What if his dad gets angry?" "He might," her mother said. "But hiding the truth won't protect Musa. Only honesty will." Zuena didn't speak, but she didn't argue either. That afternoon, when the sun had shifted slightly and the heat mellowed, Zuena and her mother walked to the house next door. Musa was on the front step, fiddling with a broken toy truck. He looked up and froze the moment he saw them. Zuena didn't say anything. Her mother stepped forward and knocked gently on the door. Musa's father opened it. He was in his home clothes, holding a cup of water, and raised an eyebrow at the unexpected visit. "Good afternoon, sir," Zuena's mother said calmly. "May I come in? There's something important we need to discuss." He opened the door wider, gesturing toward the sitting room. Musa stood quickly. "Daddy!" His father held up a hand. "Wait, let's hear her first." Zuena's mother sat down slowly. Musa's father did the same. Zuena and Musa remained standing, fidgeting in the background. She looked at Musa. He looked at her. And in that glance, something passed between them. Permission, maybe. A kind of silent bravery. "I'll speak," Musa said. His father raised his eyebrows but nodded. "Go ahead." And so Musa told it. Not as fast as Zuena had, not as cleanly, but truthfully. He talked about the dress-up game, about Zuena finding the book, about what they saw, what they did, and how it had made him feel afterward. "He's some point." His voice wavered, but he didn't stop. When he finished, the room was heavy with quiet. His father set his cup down slowly, then, in a tone that was low and firm, said, "Musa, you have made a serious mistake." "Yes, sir," Musa whispered. "But you've also shown courage. Telling the truth is not for cowards." Musa looked up, surprised. "I'm not happy about what happened," his father continued. "But I'm proud that you did not let this hide inside you. That would have been worse." Musa's eyes brimmed with tears. His father stood, walked over, and placed a hand on his shoulder. "This must be your first and last mistake in this kind of matter. Do you understand?" "Yes, Daddy," Musa said, voice cracking. "You are still a child," his father said. "Don't try to wear shoes that don't fit. They will break your feet." Musa nodded. Zuena's mother stood as well. "They need correction, yes," she said, "but also understanding. This didn't come from rebellion. It came from a lack of guidance." Musa's father nodded solemnly. "We must be more watchful." After they left, Musa walked Zuena back to the mango tree. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. When they sat beneath the shade, it wasn't with guilt this time, but with relief. Zuena let out a long sigh. "I told her everything." "Everything," Musa nodded. "Me too." She looked up at the branches. "It doesn't feel heavy anymore." He looked at her. "You're still you, you know." She smiled, just a little. "So are you." That night, Zuena lay in bed, staring at the ceiling again. But this time, she wasn't afraid. She remembered something her mother had whispered when they hugged. "Mistakes don't define you. What you do after them does." And for the first time in days, Zuena slept deeply. Across the wall, Musa sat on his bed while his father handed him a small, empty notebook. "Write what you feel," his father said. "It helps the heart stay clean." Musa opened to the first page, and in small, nervous letters wrote, "I told the truth. It still hurts, but I think I can breathe now." Then he closed the book, and for the first time in days, He smiled. The next morning, the sun returned to Ikarodu in full color. It wasn't just the heat. It was the brightness. The clouds had stepped aside. The breeze was softer. Even the trees, especially the old mango tree, seemed lighter somehow, and for the first time in a week, Zuena stepped outside humming. She stood for a moment under the doorway, squinting into the sunlight. The weight in her chest, which had followed her through every room, every thought, had finally eased. Not vanished, but eased. Her mother had gone to work with a gentle smile and a quiet, knowing hug. There were no long speeches, no cold silences, just presence, just understanding. And that was enough. As she walked to the edge of her yard, she heard a soft voice from the other side of the fence. "Hey, Musa." He looked different, not in appearance. He still wore his usual house shirt and shorts, but in the way he stood, straighter, calmer. Zuena smiled. "Hey." They both walked toward the mango tree at the same time. They sat on the wooden bench, carved by time and play. The space between them was smaller now, not because they had forgotten, but because they had healed. Musa spoke first. "Did you sleep well?" Zuena nodded. "Really well. You?" "I had another dream," he said, smiling faintly. "But this one was better." "Oh?" "We were both standing under this tree, just like now. But it wasn't quiet. We were laughing like before." Zuena looked around. "Maybe your dream came true." He chuckled softly. "Maybe." A pause. Then she asked, "Do you still think about it?" "Sometimes," he said, "but now it feels more like a lesson, not a shadow." Zuena exhaled. "Me too." They didn't need to say what it was. The shared understanding made the word unnecessary. Then Musa pulled a small notebook from his pocket, the one his father gave him. Zuena grinned. "You started writing?" "Only a little," he admitted. "Mostly stuff I don't know how to say out loud." "That's exactly why I write," she said. She reached into the fold of her skirt and pulled out her diary, flipping to a page she had written just that morning. "I am still a child. I still want to run and laugh and wear mismatched socks. I don't need to hurry to be grown. Being a child is not small. It's just a different kind of strong." Musa leaned over and read silently, then nodded. "That's good." Zuena shrugged. "It's just how I feel." The days that followed were quiet, but in a good way. Ludo made a comeback. They laughed again, chased each other again, shared snacks, and told silly jokes. But something had shifted, not in their games, but in how they looked at the world. They noticed more, like how Musa's dad now checked in more often, not with suspicion, but with intention. "How was today?" He would ask after work. "Anything on your mind?" And when Musa said, "Nothing much," his dad didn't just nod and walk away anymore. He sat down. He stayed. He listened. One evening, his father even said, "Tell me one thing you learned this week." Musa thought for a moment, then replied, "That grown-ups carry heavy things, and I'm not ready for that yet." His father smiled. "That's a very grown-up thing to say." On the other side of the fence, Zuena and her mother started having evening talks in the kitchen. Not lectures, just conversations while chopping onions or peeling yam. Her mother would ask simple things like, "What made you smile today?" Or, "Is there anything you wish you understood better?" And Zuena would answer, not because she was being interrogated, but because she felt safe. One night, while folding laundry, her mother said, "You know, Zuena, children aren't supposed to know everything. That's not a failure. That's the design." Zuena tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "Curiosity is good, but curiosity needs guidance. A lantern in the dark is only useful if someone's holding it with a steady hand." Zuena nodded. She didn't fully get it, but she knew it meant something important. One afternoon, under the mango tree again, Musa asked, "Do you think we'll Ever forget what happened? Zuena thought for a while. Maybe not. But I don't want to forget. Why not? Because forgetting might make us careless, but remembering helps us grow. He looked at her, impressed. That sounds like something a grandma would say. Zuena laughed. Maybe I'm turning into one. He shook his head, smiling. Well, Grandma Zuena, want to play Ludo? She grinned. Always. The game was close. Musa won by a single roll. They argued over whether it was fair, then settled it with a rematch that lasted until sunset painted. The sky with soft pinks and deep oranges. Their laughter echoed across the fences. Later that evening, Musa sat with his notebook again. He had started writing small notes, little quotes, thoughts that helped him understand his feelings. He wrote, "Being a child is not about not knowing. It's about knowing you don't need to know everything yet." He smiled at that, then closed the notebook, set it beside his bed, and turned off the light. At the same time, Zuena sat by her window, legs crossed, diary in lap. She didn't write. A full page, just a line. Grown-up shoes are not mine to wear yet. I'm okay with bare feet. She closed the book, placed it under her pillow, and curled up beneath her blanket. The weight was gone now. In its place was something quieter, wiser, not sadness, not shame, just understanding. It began with a ball, a small red one, half deflated, resting near the old mango tree like it had been waiting all this time. Zuena spotted it first. She was sweeping the front step, her mother inside preparing lunch, when a sudden breeze rolled the ball into view. She paused, broom midair. Musa saw it too. He had just stepped outside to feed the neighborhood cat that always wandered into their yard. The moment their eyes met across the fence, they both grinned. No hesitation, no awkward pause. "I think the ball wants to play," Zuena said, setting the broom aside. Musa picked it up. "Want to race me to the tree?" Zuena raised an eyebrow. "You're on!" They took off laughing, sandals slapping the earth, the red ball bouncing between them. It wasn't just a race. It was a declaration, a return. Not to who they were before everything happened, but to something better. Children who now understood themselves more deeply. Under the mango tree, they played for hours. Kicked the ball, drew hopscotch squares in the dirt, invented silly games with rules that changed every 5 minutes. They teased each other. They laughed. They collapsed on the bench, sweating and out of breath. "I missed this," Zuena said, panting. "Me too," Musa replied. They sat in silence for a while, watching the ants parade along the roots of the tree. Then Zuena said, "You know, I thought we had lost this." "What?" "This. Us." Musa looked up. "We didn't lose it. We just had to walk through something first." She nodded slowly. "Yeah, and now we know where not to walk again." That afternoon, Zuena's mother called her in to help cut vegetables. As they stood in the kitchen, hands busy, rhythm calm, her mother said gently, "You look lighter." Zuena smiled. "I feel lighter." Her mother paused. "Do you think you learned something from all this?" Zuena didn't rush to answer. Then, "Yes, I learned that being a child isn't something to rush out of, and that secrets grow heavy if you don't speak them." Her mother placed a hand on her shoulder. "That's wisdom." Zuena looked up. "Mommy, can I ask something?" "Anything." "Why didn't you get angry? I thought you'd shout or punish me." Her mother sighed, not out of frustration, but thought. "Because you already carried the punishment in your heart. What you needed wasn't shouting. You needed truth and guidance." Zuena's eyes welled with quiet tears. "Thank you for giving both," her mother smiled. "Always." That same evening, Musa's father came, home from work earlier than usual. He sat on the porch, his prayer cap still on his head, and called out, "Musa!" Musa came running, wiping dust from his palms. "Yes, Daddy?" His father held up the notebook. "You've written a lot." Musa nodded. "It helps me think, helps me understand myself." His father looked at him, not just as a son, but as a soul growing. "I read one page," he said. "The one that said grown-up shoes break children's feet." Musa chuckled nervously. "I got that from you." His father nodded. "It's still true." Then he added, "Musa, never be afraid to ask questions. But remember, not every answer comes from a book. Some answers come from people who love you." Musa looked down. "I was scared you'd stop loving me." His father pulled him close. "There's nothing you can do that love can't cover, as long as you bring the truth." Over the next weeks, small changes bloomed like new leaves. Zuena and Musa's homes became more alive, not noisier, but more connected. Meals were shared with open conversations. Parents asked deeper questions. Children answered honestly. No more locked drawers and assumed innocence. There was presence. There was trust. It wasn't perfect. Nothing was, but it was growing. One Sunday afternoon, Zuena sat on her porch, writing in her diary. The sky above was endless blue. She heard Musa's laughter drift over from the mango tree and smiled. She wrote, "I thought growing up meant knowing more, but maybe it means knowing when to wait. I'm not ashamed of what happened anymore, but I won't go back there. I will protect my heart, because I'm still a child, and that's not something small. That's something sacred." She closed the book gently, like sealing a promise. The narrator's voice returns, not loud, not moralizing, but firm and warm. Some lessons in life don't need to come through pain, but when they do, they must be followed by truth, forgiveness, and guidance. Children are curious by nature. That's not a flaw. It's a fire. But fire needs boundaries. It needs someone to say, "This is safe, and that is not for now." What protects a child is not just locked drawers, it's unlocked conversations. Not just discipline, but presence. Not just silence, but listening. One day, as they sat under the tree again, Zuena asked Musa, "Do you think we'll be like our parents someday?" Musa thought for a moment. "Maybe, but with our own kind of wisdom." Zuena nodded. "I want to be a mother who talks, who listens. I want to be a father who notices when things are off," Musa said. They smiled at each other, and then started a new game. No rules, no boundaries broken. Just the joyful noise of children who had found their way back home. If you watched until the end, comment the word "rooted," subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your family and friends.